morning, lovelies. Today we are going to talk about my least favorite young adult fantasy tropes. These tropes tend to pop up in other forms of media and literature too, but they're either more often or frequently enough found in young adult fantasy that I decided to make an entire video about it. I might overlook a couple of these tropes if they're done particularly well, but for the most part, if I see any of these in any story that I'm trying to engage with, I'm just not gonna stick with it. Numbers 4, 6, and 10 are the ones that I would like to set on fire and or just, wipe off the face of the earth with a magic wand. But unfortunately, or fortunately, if you happen to like these tropes for whatever reason, I can't do that. All I have is a camera and a YouTube channel, so let's get to it. Number 1, dead parents. A classic, I know, but still. What is the easiest way to ensure that a teenager is going to be doing everything in this book that a teenager would never actually be able to do in real life? Kill off the parents. Everyone knows orphans spend all their spare time taking down corrupt governments and learning magic. If there is one surviving parent, it's almost always going to be the dad. The mother is always dead. This is one of those tropes that's not bad in and of themselves, and as a writer, I do understand the desire for just getting those obstacles out of the way. It's just so overused. I mean, can we find some other way to just get those parents out of the way in a way that they're not going to be charged with neglect or child abuse by the end of the story? Maybe even give them a narrative arc? It's one of the reasons why I really liked Percy Jackson and How to Train Your Dragon, the first one anyway, because the parents are still alive and they get their narrative arc. Related, but less annoying tropes would be the alcoholic / negligent / otherwise abusive parents. Honestly, I kind of like reading and writing about abusive parents because I love that type of drama, and I am honestly morbidly fascinated by it because I don't get it. That never happened to me, so I don't know, it's like watching a really fucked up unicorn. Sometimes you get a twofer that is like the biological parents are dead and the adopted or foster parents are abusive, but that just seems like overkill to me. Number 2, parents or other adults who hide the main character's true history or identity. Stop me if you've heard this one before. This teenager has lived their whole life believing that they are normal, or at least normal for this world. But they get attacked by goons one day and find out that they're actually royalty, or a wizard, or have weird genetic superpowers, or whatever. And their parents or guardians knew about this, knew about the danger it presented, and said nothing. This is just stupid. Keeping the kid in ignorance does not protect them. In fact, it makes them even more liable to get killed because they don't know how to use these life-saving magical powers, or that they should even be looking for the danger in the first place. I mean, yeah, we want kids to be able to enjoy their childhoods worry-free, but we also want them to be alive. Get your act together, parents. Number 3, pretty girls who don't think they're pretty. Now, I'll admit this is sometimes a thing that happens in real life, so I can't really shame this for being unrealistic. I know several girls and women who are genuinely, objectively beautiful, but they don't think that they're attractive. Like, all they're seeing are these, tiny, imperceptible physical flaws that aren't even flaws. Low self-esteem caused by a bombardment of beauty ads and misogyny is going to take its toll. But again, like the dead parents trope, this one is overused. And sometimes there is no legitimate reason for this character to think that she is unattractive. People who are pretty tend to know that they are pretty, and they can even have a whole host of other self-esteem and psychological issues. I would love to have a young adult story that has a girl who knows that she is conventionally attractive, and her debilitating self-esteem comes from the fact that she thinks that that is the only thing of value to her, and she is terrified of the day when she loses those looks. Or the opposite, she will think that she is a lot more skilled, intelligent, and overall interesting than she actually is because that's what everyone who is attracted to her tells her, and then one day she loses her looks or her attractiveness or whatever, and she realizes that she doesn't have those skills or that intelligence, and now she has to cultivate an actual personality. Both of these are a lot more interesting to me than the I am regularly compared to supermodels but I'm so ugly thing that a lot of girls in these stories go through. Also, have you noticed that it's only the girls? It's never the guys. When a character has a narrative arc that mostly revolves around their realization that they are actually conventionally attractive, usually because a love interest is actually saying it to them, it's a girl's arc. It's a teenage girl or a young woman. Boys and men don't get this narrative arc. If they are attractive in literature, they tend to know it and use it, or they just don't value it. They don't care. If they are not conventionally attractive, then yeah, they might mope about it, but their narrative arc will revolve around them realizing something else about them that has value, usually some sort of skill or personality. But of course, they'll still end up dating the conventionally attractive girl. I don't think I've ever seen a story where the conventionally attractive guy does not believe that they are good looking, and then their arc accumulates in them realizing that they actually are good looking, and that gives them self-esteem. You never see that in guys, it's only the girls. Because that's what we are supposed to value the most about ourselves. Sexism! Speaking of which, number 4, I'm not like other girls. God, kill this one with fire. This attitude of, I'm not like other girls, therefore I'm more valuable than other girls, is really harmful and debilitating to the young girls and women that read these books, and I know that because I am young girls and women. I thought that because I went against the tide in my high school, I didn't like makeup, I still don't. I didn't dress fashionably, I didn't go to those parties or those social events, that I thought that I was better than the other girls in my class because of all that. When in actuality, I was just being an arrogant bitch. It took me years to realize that the girls in my class who wore makeup and dressed fashionably and threw parties were really nice, and they were smart and interesting, and that their parties were just like hanging out in their house, eating snacks and chatting, complaining about classes, normal teenage girl stuff. I missed out on so many friendships in high school because of this attitude that I learned and was reinforced by young adult novels. The other girls of I'm not like other girls is just code for traditionally feminine girls. There's nothing wrong with being traditionally feminine. If you are masculine or androgynous, that does not make you inherently superior to them. Everyone expresses their gender identity differently. No one way is better than the other, and no one way gives one person more value than the other. Unless that gender expression involves murder. Maybe. Number 5, the brooding bad boy love interest. He's a rebel, a loner, and breaks all the rules. He has no respect for authority and barely any respect for the female protagonist. And that's supposed to make him attractive to her? Honestly, this character is so copy and paste. We have all seen this 100 times. And maybe I'm just too old or too arrow ace for his bullshit, but I never know what the girl sees in him. He's a dick, and he's probably gonna end up in prison by the time he's 30. I just want to scream at this girl, go date the class clown. It might not last forever, but he'll at least make you laugh and will appreciate you a lot more than this asshole. Number 6, the love triangle. You all knew this was coming. Words cannot express how much I hate this trope. This has gone on a worst tropes video half a dozen times at least. It is one of the best ways to ensure that I will stop reading or watching the story and will never pick it up again. I might not even pick it up at all. It's just a cheap, lazy way to write drama. If I know that this trope gets subverted in some way, and usually that subversion is that the girl pursued by the two guys rejects them both, I'll stick around. But 99% of the time, I just nope right on out of there. Number 7, Insta love. That's treated as real love. There is no such thing as love at first sight. I'm not being a pessimist. I'm not shitting on romantic love. It just doesn't exist. There is such a thing as lust at first sight, and romantic attraction can begin after a brief conversation. But full-on romantic love that spans through the ages and endures for years at a time, but starts with just two people making eye contact? No, you don't know that person. And I hate it when authors, especially young adult authors who are targeting people that are just starting to experiment with love and relationships, I hate it when they treat it like Insta love does that. Teenagers get crushes very quickly, yes, and they also fall in love pretty quickly too. But they also fall out of love just as quickly. And none of them know how to have an actual romantic relationship. I don't think anyone has figured that out until they're like 25 at least. face it, teenage relationships are hot messes most of the time. Can we just treat them like that in the literature? By the way, if you're enjoying this video, could you do me a huge favor and hit that like button? Creators like myself are slaves to the YouTube algorithm, and clicking that like button does affect how many views this video gets and helps the channel grow. Thanks. Number 8, underqualified teenager wins against the overqualified adult without even trying. A related trope would be the instant mastery over their powers that they didn't even know existed 24 hours ago. Mary Sue alert! Look, we all love an underdog story where the ill-equipped main character has to go against the proverbial Goliath. But that only works if the underdog suffers losses and defeats and humiliations, and they have to claw their way to victory. Basically, they have to work to gain the strength, cleverness, skills, or allies that they need to win. Having them do this almost by accident, or even just like as a plot point as part of the training montage early in the story, I mean, that's just an embarrassment. Number 9, The Chosen One. The only in-universe justification for having such an underqualified teenager do anything relevant in this story. My mixed feelings about this trope are well documented on this channel, and it is only going on this list because it is so often so poorly written in this genre. Now, if the chosen oneness is very tangible, I mean, that is like this 12-year-old child is the only person in the world who has the actual, literal power to defeat the Dark Lord, and it cannot be transferred, and also we're working on a really tight deadline. Sure, yeah, fine, I will play along. But a lot of times the chosen one is literally no different from anyone else in terms of skill or magic or anything. Like, there's nothing. There is no reason for a divine being or the cosmos or whatever to look at this random person and decide, yes, they shall be in charge of saving the world. It's just a convenient excuse to throw this teenager at a problem that they have no business being a part of. It also muddies up the central theme of the chosen oneness. Like, the whole idea of the chosen one is that they're different, they're set apart from everyone around them. And for real people with actual differences from people around them because of, like, say, ethnicity or culture or physical appearance or skill or lack of skill or whatever, like having that message of your differences make you stronger, they make you cool, they make you unique. That's what the chosen one really is in its root. That you shouldn't be ashamed of those differences. Yeah, you might get a lot of flack for your differences or a lot of attention for it, but you should not be ashamed of it. And yet having the chosen one protagonist be so plain and unassuming and really no different from any of the other characters around them, the writer is also saying that anyone has the power to topple an empire. All you need is a little luck and gumption. But if that were true, we wouldn't have needed a chosen one in the first place. I mean, I don't know. This trope is just, it's like the full expanse of like the best and worst of the young adult genre, or really any fantasy sci-fi genre. It's really. And number 10, no diversity. Almost every single young adult fantasy story centers around the cis-het, neurotypical, able-bodied teenagers. And then when those books get turned into movies, they always cast white actors to play those people. That shit don't fly no more. There has been a push for more diversity in these stories in recent years, which I am loving, and I'm trying to add my own momentum to that. But authors still think that they can get away with writing about this one sliver of humanity that they think represents everyone. It doesn't. I have almost no interest in a story that does not at least attempt to open the doors wider for a larger, greater cast of characters, and yes, a wider audience too. Those are my least favorite fantasy tropes that usually pop up in young adult literature. Please share yours in the comments. And if you liked this video, I have an entire playlist dedicated to my favorite and least favorite tropes right here. So click on that, have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye, lovelies.